I'm gonna show you guys how to remove your oil filter housing today. So let's jump into it. What's up everybody, Cameron from Audi 7 Owners, and I'm gonna show you how to remove your oil filter housing today because it's something that a lot of people ask questions about because the seal that connects it to the block of the engine, or to the head I should say, not block, whatever, that seal goes bad. It gets crusty and dried up and it'll leak oil down the back of your engine. So I actually removed mine not so long ago when I did my timing covers, and I have to reseal the timing cover unfortunately because one of them is leaking. So that's your timing, I'm sorry, that's your oil filter housing. We're gonna be removing that guy. As you can see, I've already got the supercharger removed. You can do this with the supercharger on, but it is gonna be a nightmare, and it's gonna be really hard to clean up all the oil that spills out the back when you pull this thing off. So I highly suggest you remove your supercharger to just have much better access. From here, to make our job way easier, I'm gonna be removing the breather hoses from the valve covers. Those need to get out of the way. And then we gotta remove some bolts back here. This wiring is gonna be in the way, but I'll show you how to get around it. There's also a stud that this thing sits on. Maybe I'll have a little graphic here that shows you how this kind of sits back there. I'm gonna show you how I move all my wires and stuff out of the way just to make this job as easy as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that breather hose and start to show you guys some of the other tricks here. One thing about my setup, you might notice it's different than your PCV setup, and that's because I have a relocated PCV, but still, the same principle applies. You wanna remove these breather hoses and get them out of there just to make life a lot simpler. But since I have these aftermarket breather hoses, they come out a lot easier than your OEM ones, so sorry for you guys having trouble with that. Additionally, I'm gonna take some extra time. I got my relocated PCV, and this line comes around and connects to that, so I'm gonna have to mess with that, but I'll show you what I do after I get all this removed. All right, as you can see, we got those covers out of the way completely, and you can see it just already clears up so much room over here. I'm gonna be moving a lot of these wires you're gonna see here out of the way because I'm replacing both of my timing covers just to be safe so that I can get those properly sealed up. I'm tired of having leaks, but you might not have to do everything. Just do what you think you need to do. You're ultimately gonna have to get back here to access some bolts and some wires. You're gonna have to do some stuff by feel around the backside, but it's not too bad. I will walk you through it, but I'm gonna go ahead and start doing what I need to do for my timing cover job, and we'll get around here to showing you what we need to do to get this thing unbolted. I recorded the process of doing all of what I'm about to tell you, but my microphone wasn't working, so I got to redo it. So let me put some stuff back kind of how it went over here. All right, so we've got a rag underneath the oil filter housing, getting ready to remove it. We've got this wiring harness that comes around and it connects to this plug here, and that sits in this bracket. Now this bracket is more usually aligned straight here, but I've already pushed it out of the way. But what you need to do, disconnect, or actually get this plug out of this bracket, just push it out with a, something, I don't know, screwdriver, whatever, get it out of the bracket, disconnect it, move it out of the way. That one gets a lot of room because then the only wiring harness you have to deal with is this one here, and that one is a lot easier to maneuver around than this one. Now we've got a set of two actual bolts, and they're M8 triple squares. It's one here, one on the bottom. You've got this pressure switch, and then you've got an internal triple square nut that secures on a stud, and it's also an M8. And then there's a fourth one over here, and I think it's supposed to be a nut on something. I'm not sure, mine's missing it, but I've got a diagram here. You can see all four of the connection points. Now, the other thing that I've done that I talked about in the other video that I didn't record, the other thing I've done is I've already pulled all the oil out of the inside of this oil filter housing. Now there's still gonna be some residual. There's a check valve in there that kind of holds oil in there when your engine's off. So no matter what, when we pull this off, there's gonna be oil that spills, and it's gonna be kind of a mess. So try and catch as much as you can with a rag, but have some cans of brake clean ready so that you can clean this stuff up. But remove that first bolt. You can see how long they are. I'm going to see if I can't loosen that up and get that off before we remove the oil filter housing. Well, unfortunately, I just tried to get a wrench on it, and I am not going to be able to remove that beforehand, so it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and continue working on removing the rest of the bolts. So for this bottom one with the sensor in there, you might need a little bit of an extension to get in there. Here we go. And on the C7, I got plenty of room to get back in here and do this. I don't know about the B8, if you will have this kind of room. who knows? Having one of these makes it really nice. All right, now we're gonna go remove that inset, or that triple square inset nut here. Actually, don't know, I should not need the extension on this one. And you can kind of do this by feel. Now, as soon as you get this one loose, it's gonna start pouring oil out, and it is now loose, and all it's sitting on is a stud. So when you're about to pull this thing out, have something to set it on, because once again, it is going to pour oil, more than likely. I'm gonna go ahead and set this here and cover up all my stuff. So we're going to push it out off the stud. See, it's already out. And there we go. Here's our oil filter housing all the way out of the car. I've already kind of cleaned it up, a little bit of brake clean. This is that gasket that gets really dried up and brittle. Now that one's a brand new one I just put in not too long ago, so I'm gonna reuse that one. But when you go back to put it into the car, you wanna make sure, and hopefully I can get a decent little clip here. You wanna make sure you go in the back and clean up that surface before you install. You want that to be nice and dry. You can see I've got this paper towel shoved in to the one port that was leaking a little bit of oil, but you wanna make sure before you put that in that you get that nice and cleaned up. Okay, so you replace your new gasket, it's time to put the oil filter housing back on. It literally just installs in reverse order. Just when you go to put it back on there, be careful you don't put too much stress on your wiring harnesses. You don't want anything to get compromised there. Slip it over that stud, put it back together. Torque specs, don't know them off the top of my head. I'll have a link to the actual service manual below in the pinned comment, so you can check that and go to town there. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this informative. I think this might be the only like really detailed how-to video removing one of these oil filter housings. So let me know how you like it. And if you like what I bring you, consider joining the official members club of Audi 7 owners. If you've got an iPhone or iOS device, you won't see the join button, so you have to use a computer, but otherwise should be a little bit of, or it should be a little join button. It's $5 a month. You get a ton of perks. Check it out. Anyways, I will see you guys on the next DIY video.